Hello there guys, welcome to another my live video. So Manchester United go up against Norwich at Carrow Road on Sunday 4:30 kick-off. Now on this video I am going to give you some team news building up to the game. Probably as well will give you my starting 11 prediction, and obviously now we'll give you more updates probably tomorrow when Ole Gunnar Solsjaker has done his press conference reaction. So Ole Gunnar Solsjaker has recently revealed that he may stick with three at the back, because in the last two games that formation has seemed to be working, because obviously we do know for the majority of this season that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been going with that 4-2-3-1 formation, and obviously we do know that that formation hasn't been working. But anyway, reflecting on the amount of injuries that Manchester United have had so far this season, Solskjaer has obviously had to make alterations and that in the squad. But now with this new formation, I think things could turn around at Manchester United, and that, which is obviously very good to see. Obviously, as you saw my match reaction earlier on today, Man United beat Partizan Belgrade by 1-0. Obviously to end my run of 11 away games without a win. Like I mentioned, it wasn't the best of performances. I thought there was some good individual performances, but we still are struggling to create chances, and that's an element of concern. Also, we're not scoring enough goals, and that's also another element of concern. My man of the match in the game against Partizan Belgrade was Brandon Williams. That was his second start for the club this season. I think he can become a huge success at Manchester United. Don't forget, he was playing at left wing back, and I was very impressed with his performance. Obviously, he was the architect that won Manchester United the penalty, and it was obviously Martial that tucked it away just before half time. But yes, Brandon Williams was definitely man of the match. It was good to see also Jimmy Garner make his full debut for the football club, and I thought his performance was quite good. But yeah, so we are now top of Group L. So we've won 2 out of 3 in the Europa League. We've registered 7 points from a possible 9. So I think we've actually done quite well in the last 2 games. So I will credit Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in the aspects that he has tactically got it right in the last 2 games. So we have shown some tactical flexibility. So I think Manchester United do need to stick with this formation. But like I mentioned, everything does need to improve at the football club. We know the away form needs to improve. We also know the home form needs to improve. Certain players do need to step up to the plate. So hopefully now like I mentioned with the result, regarding the Liverpool result, I think now it's put more the momentum's into the team now. It's put more confidence into the team, and hopefully now things can be turned around at Manchester United. And Norwich is actually going to be a tough game on Sunday, believe it or not. I know Norwich are struggling. They're sitting 19th in the league, but we're only 3 points above Norwich because we are 14th in the table ourselves. We're only sitting 2 points above relegation, and you can quite frankly say at the moment we are facing a relegation battle. This will be the first time Man United are playing at Carrow Road for almost first time we're playing at Carrow Road since Louis van Gaal's second season. I think in that particular season we did beat Norwich 1-0. I think it was a goal from Juan Mata. But Norwich, they do show good attacking intent and that, and they can score goals, but also, they are defensively poor. They do leak a lot of goals in. So probably, this is a game, Manchester United should win against Norwich. Like I mentioned, we are enjoying our worst start to a Premier League season for 3 decades. So the last time we had a better start as this to a season was, back in 1989. We've only registered 10 points from a possible 27. We've only won 2 games in the league so far this season, and we've only won 4 games in all competitions, and we know that's nowhere near good enough to our standards. But yeah, so I think we should beat Norwich, and in every game this season we've scored, and we've only managed to score 1 goal. Prior to the Chelsea game, because obviously we scored 4 against Chelsea on the opening day of the Premier League season. But Solskjaer obviously recently came out as well, and to be fair, he has got a lot of honesty in him as Solskjaer, so one of the aspects that I do credit him for. He's obviously aware of what's going on, and he came out after the the result against Partizan Belgrade yesterday, and he actually said that he criticised our forwards. He said they're non-existent. He says their defending was obviously not that good. So he says they need to improve on that. But I think he was actually delighted with the second half performance against Partizan Belgrade. I've got to be honest, it was totally comparison to the AZ Alkmaar game, because that's probably the worst performance I've seen from Manchester United this season. Was the Alkmaar game. Didn't even register a single shot on target. We only had one shot on target in the game yesterday against Partizan Belgrade, and that was from the goal from Anthony Martial. But so we need to basically start scoring more goals. And obviously we are aware of the deficiencies in the squad. Obviously there's still key areas where Manchester United need to strengthen up. Solskjaer's obviously making plans for January. He's also making which is good, and also I think Ed Woodward is making plans for January. We definitely need a striker in. We need someone that can assure us goals, and someone that can be more effective in the box, because we failed to recruit a replacement for Lukaku and Sanchez during the course of the summer. And obviously, Martial's just recently recovered from injury. Rashford was injured, not too long ago. So we do look very exposed in that attacking line. We also need to recommend at least one midfielder in January, because, like I mentioned, we need to add depth in that midfield. We need someone that, can score goals from that midfield. We need someone that can create chances from that midfield. So that's another area where Man United need to strengthen up. Some people are also saying that we do need a left back. But like I mentioned, during the course of the summer, it was good in the aspect, that we did address some of the problematic areas. We got the experienced centre half in. We also got that right back in, but we didn't address all the problematic areas. So that was an element of concern as well. Solskjaer spent nearly £150 million on 3 players, and to be fair, they've all enjoyed fantastic starts to their Manchester United careers. Daniel James has done good, and Wan-Bissaka's done good, and Harry Maguire has done good. But I definitely believe, Solskjaer will still be here by January now, because even despite our disastrous start to the season anyway, Solskjaer, recent perception was, he insists he's still the right man for Man United, and he's the right manager to take Man United forward. And also Ed Woodward is compatible in that aspect, because he's got the same perception as Solskjaer. Ed Woodward, thinks, that Solskjaer can turn things around, and he insists he's still 100% backing Mulligan and Solskjaer at the football club. There's still a lot of Man United fans, don't get me wrong, that are demanding Solskjaer out. There's still certain Man United fans saying, that we should stick with him, we should give him at least a couple more windows, and that to see who else he can recommend into the football club, because obviously not all managers do settle in straight away, so you've obviously got to take that into account. But yeah, you've got to take that into account. And my element of concerns I've got about him is that I know I've been criticising him for his, for most of his tactics this season, because he has tactically got it wrong, and we have been tactically inept for the majority of this season. But I've got to credit him in the last 2 games. He has really done well as Solskjaer. He hasn't really got any intuition on how to manage a big football club, in my opinion, like Manchester United and that. And I know, despite the fact that he knows the traditions of the club, and that because he was a great player for us, he had 11 years at Man United, but I just don't think he's good enough, to be a manager in that. His pedigree is not good enough, his Solskjaer's, but there's still plenty of time, to turn things around. We're only 9 games into the season, and Solskjaer hasn't really been at the football club that long. He's only been at Manchester United overall for around 10 months. He hasn't even been here a year yet. You can say he's enjoyed difficult 7 months or so tenure at Man United. We know that, because reflecting back, when he came in as the interim manager, he did really well, because he won 14 games out of 19 in total, won his first 8. And he exceeded expectations in that 3-month period, and he did really well, and the results were good, the performances were good, but it has all gone wrong, since he has got the job permanently. But you can take into account, we've had a lot of injuries this season. But the good news is now, players are starting to recover from injury, so that's very good news. Like I said, Martial's now back. So some players have now recovered, but these still plays out of injury. And as you all know, Solskjaer did assure that Paul Pogba will be missing the game on Sunday against Norwich. So I can definitely now assure that. Obviously, he didn't travel to Belgrade, did Paul Pogba. Paul Pogba's an imperative player, and Paul Pogba has missed around 7 7 out of the last 9 games for Man United, you know, with this ongoing foot injury that's been surrounding the player for a matter of weeks. But, you know, I know Paul Pogba's mainly enjoyed a difficult time with Manchester United since he rejoined from Juventus back in 2016. But you can still take into account that he's an imperative player, and we are still all aware of the difference, you know, he does make in that midfield. But he has been a big miss as Paul Pogba. I still believe he's one of the players, you know, that wants to leave Manchester United in January or next summer, because his preference was a move to Real Madrid for the entirety of the summer. But like I mentioned, his move to Real Madrid didn't materialised. My perception is he's reflecting on the substantial amount we put on him, because we said we wanted around 180 million for Paul Pogba. Obviously, you know, Real Madrid were not willing to meet that, so quite frankly we was demanding just over double than what we paid for him from Juventus back in 2016 during the summer. And Real Madrid themselves during the summer spent a substantial amount. Don't forget, not too long ago reports indicated out saying that, you know, Paul Pogba were reportedly demanding a substantial 600,000 a week from the football club. 600 grand a week equates to around 30 million pounds a year. And I think also his agent Mini Raiola was demanding that if there was any possibility of Paul Pogba, you know, extending his contract at Manchester United. And, you know, Paul Pogba's still got 2 years left on his current deal at the club, with an option, you know, to extend it by a further year. But yeah, I don't know how long, you know, Paul Pogba, you know, he's out for. Give you some news regarding Alex Tuanzebe. Like I mentioned, Solsjaker will provide more of the news, you know, probably in his press conference tomorrow. But Tuanzebe, he did say a day or so ago that he should return for the game against Norwich. Obviously, he's got a hip injury, Alex Tuanzebe. He actually was named in the starting 11 against Liverpool, if you do remember rightly. But obviously, he suffered the hip injury, so obviously Marcus Rojo would have to take his place in the team. But I praise Tuanzebe because I think he's been fantastic in the games he has played in this season for Manchester United. I've been very, very impressed. And I think he's one of the young upcoming players that will become a success at the football club. Diego Dalot, he's also out with injury. He's, I think, got a leg injury, as Diego Dalot. You know, he's sustained quite a few injuries this season. You know, he's one of our backup options at that full-back position. But, you know, we have got quite a few now full-backs in the team. Obviously, Wan-Bissaka is the first choice right-back we've got. But Diego Dalot, you know, he's, one of the backup options, and he has played quite a few times this season, but I don't think he'll be available for this game against Norwich. Bailly, as we all know, he's out until the end of the year. Fosu Mensah's still out with injury. It's definitely been assured as well, I think, that Luke Shaw and Matic are still out. I don't think either of them will be playing against Norwich. Luke Shaw hasn't played since the 2-1 home defeat to Crystal Palace. And Luke Shaw, you know, is a very, very imperative player, you know. We all know he's a very imperative player, and everyone talks about, you know, his injuries and that, and he has sustained a lot of injuries as a Man United player. But I think, you know, prior to that and prior to his, you know, bad spell under Mourinho, I think he's had a good career with Manchester United as Luke Shaw. He's now into his 5th season at the football club. He won the double player of the season last season, reflecting on his impressive performances. But now we've got Brandon Williams that's come up the ranks, and, you know, he's played a couple of games this season. Maybe he's a better solution, especially at this present time, is Brandon Williams. But yeah, like I mentioned, Williams, you know, was fantastic, against, Partizan Belgrade, and even Solsjaker, you know, praised him for the fantastic performance, you know, he did put out, and he's only 19 years of age. You've also got Rojo as well, that, you know, also can play at left back, but he was actually, you know, playing alongside Harry Maguire yesterday evening. You know, Rojo, you know, he can do well, can Rojo. I think he's played around 3 games this season for Man United. You know, obviously I don't think he's played in the league, but obviously, you know, he's played in the, you know, the Europa League and the Cup games and that. And, you know, he can do really, really well, can Rojo. And I think maybe he's another one of the players, you know, that could be moved on, you know, in January, maybe next summer. I'm surprised he actually didn't leave during the summer, because don't forget, towards the back end of the transfer window, you know, Everton had inquired about getting him on deadline day. You know, quite a few other teams, you know, were in for him. You could cash in for Rojo if we get rid of him, you know, in January or next summer, because he has got around just under 2 years left on his contract at Manchester United. I think his versatility is very, very good, as Rojo's, and, you know, we have got quite a few versatile, you know, defenders, and Rojo's, you know, compatible to Tuanzebe, because Tuanzebe and Rojo can both play as centre-backs. They can also both, you know, play as full-backs. So yeah, we have got quite a few versatile defenders. Yeah. And with Matic, talking about him, he's had a knock, I think, as Nemanja Matic, and obviously, he isn't first choice anywhere. Is Matic, obviously mainly due to his inconsistency, and Matic, really needs to step up to the plate because I do believe he's been very, very poor for Manchester United. He's now into his third season as a Manchester United player, and again, I think we did overpay for Matic, and I said we're known for overpaying for players, especially in recent years. We paid around £40 million for Matic. At the time we recommended Matic in anywhere, he wasn't the club's first choice. He was, he was around our third choice signing at the time and that. But obviously at the time we got him under Mourinho. Mourinho had some kind of obsessions, with tall players, and obviously Mourinho at the time wanted to reunite with a player, which he did. But yeah, he's not first choice. He actually was first choice last season. But for me, Matic is too slow, makes that midfield look totally imbalanced, and he's too predictable. So I don't want him, to be a first team regular. But he is away with injury still, so I don't think he'll be playing against Norwich. The news regarding David De Gea, as Solsjaker mentioned on Wednesday prior to the Partizan Belgrade game, he definitely assured that David De Gea will be back for Sunday, which is obviously very, very good news. Like I mentioned, I'm surprised David De Gea played in the last league game against Liverpool, because obviously there was a lot of doubts before the game that he would have missed, because obviously he sustained like a leg injury whilst he was on international duty with Spain the other week, and at first the extent of the injury was unknown, but then it got confirmed that Solskjaer had first. It got confirmed that the injury wasn't as severe as Solskjaer now first feared, so he's okay now, which is good. Romero obviously was in goal yesterday, but obviously in them particular games, obviously Romero's going to be Solskjaer's preference over David De Gea. Romero's our second choice goalkeeper, like I mentioned, so yeah. But yeah, and Lingard, hamstring problem. Well, he did have a hamstring problem, but obviously now he's back, which is very, very good news. I think he had periods of dominance in the game against Partizan Belgrade. I still think he needs to up his performances, because I said reflect on his status at the football club. He should be putting much more better performances out. Like I currently said. But I talk about Man United overpaying for players, and we have overpaid for players, like I mentioned. I agree on the aspects. We overpaid for Fred. He's definitely one of the players we overpaid for. I think he's had the odd good couple of games for Man United this season where he's actually done well. My perception on Fred is I think the club need to give him more time, because like I mentioned, not every player that comes in settles in straight away, like I mentioned. But Fred, the likes of Fred and Lindelof and that, they're obviously a comparison, to the likes of Dan James and Wan-Bissaka and Harry Maguire, because obviously Fred and Lindelof, well, Lindelof didn't settle in straight away when he first came, and obviously Fred hasn't settled in as yet. But Fred needs to be given more time. I don't know if he's a long-term solution for Man United, but I think anywhere any of our midfield options are better options than Matic, so I will take that into account. I also believe that, we definitely overpaid for Harry Maguire. £80 million was too substantial, don't get me wrong, but, I think he's, enjoyed a great start to his Man United career. I think he's addressed our defensive deficiencies. I think we do look better defensively slightly. We do seem to be still conceding goals, which is a worry, but, I think we do actually, look better defensively. But Maguire, has done really, really well. But I did say in certain markets at this day and age, you've got to overpay for players, especially. So you've got to take that into account. We could say now that we overpaid for Paul Pogba. Obviously we paid £89 million for him. It was bad business for the football club anyway. Us letting him go back under the Ferguson era, then letting him have 4 years in Turin with Juventus, and then buying him for £89 million doesn't really make much make sense. To be quite honest, and for certain players we've overpaid for, we've overpaid for them and let them go for next to nothing. And there's been prime examples of it. There were 2 prime examples of it during the summer. We got rid of Darmian for next to nothing. We let Ander Herrera go on a free on a free transfer. And I think it was bad business from the football club. Letting his contract run down. I was very, very infuriated about that. I was very, very infuriated about that, to be quite honest with you. Yeah, so that's some of the team though. So we now will get along with the starting 11 prediction. Now, I think Solsjaker is obviously going to stick out with the same formation, so it will be the 3-4-2-1. I think the 3-4-2-1 is it formation, or the 3? Oh, it's no, sorry, the 3-4-1-2. Sorry, it's not the 3-4-2-1. 3-4-1-2. I meant. So he will go with David De Gea in goal, definitely. It will be Wan-Bissaka. It will be Wan-Bissaka at right wing back, definitely. The three centre backs will be, let me guess, Harry Maguire, Victor Lindelof, and maybe Jones in there, maybe Rojo. Could be actually no Jones. I'll go with Jones, Lindelof, and Harry Maguire. They're the three centre backs. Left wing back. Well, obviously Dalot's injured, so he can't. Maybe Rojo could play there, maybe. But I probably will go over Ashley Young at left wing back. And then the midfield. I'd probably say the midfield will go with McTominay, because McTominay's been very, very impressive this season, and he's deserved to keep his players in the team as McTominay. I think he's had one bad game this season. That came in the 1-0 defeat to Newcastle before the international break. So yeah, McTominay in the midfield, Fred alongside him. I think definitely Fred will play alongside McTominay. Long time McTominay. I think in the number 10, well, we've got a few players, that can play in number 10. You've got Lingard that can play in number 10. You've got, Juan Mata that can play in the number 10. Probably Jesse Lingard, probably, I think will fulfill that number 10 role. And I think the two up front, it's obviously got to be Marcus Rashford and Anthony Martial. So yeah, that's my starting 11 prediction. So we'll go through it again. De Gea, Bissaka at right wing back, Ashley Young at left wing back, the three centre backs, Maguire, Lindelof and Jones, and midfield, McTominay and Fred. Number 10, Jesse Lingard, and up front Rashford and Martial. So that's my starting 11 prediction for the game. So like I mentioned, despite the fact that a lot of players have left since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's arrival, like I do, keep updating you on, I still think there is definitely more problematic players at the football club that do need to be moved on and that. So we need to also focus getting rid of more players in January next summer, rather than getting more players in. And I've already gone through, the basics in that we have, I've already told you, what players, I think, should leave Manchester United and that. Like I mentioned for the summer, obviously Italy's been, it was a very popular destination for the vast majority of our players, because obviously the vast majority of our players, left for Italy, in the summer and that. Like I said though, we need at least 5 to 6 more signings in my opinion if we are to be back to being a competitive elite level football club without a shadow of a doubt. Maybe even more than that. But I think, we're orchestrating on making, at least 4 new signings next year. Because we do need at least 4 new signings. Solskjaer's been assured money to spend in January. I think next summer, that's when we'll do the vast majority of our transfer business next summer. So we'll probably look to sign 1 or 2 players in January, and then we'll do more business next summer. But Solskjaer, is aware a massive rebuild is needed at the football club. Obviously, Solskjaer is still in the process of rebuilding anyway, because analysing the majority of this Man United team anyway isn't Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's. Solskjaer's obviously inheriting the players that Jose Mourinho brought in. He's inheriting the vast majority of Jose Mourinho's players anyway, because Jose Mourinho recommended 11 players into the club. I think there's still 9 of them here now, because Lukaku and Sanchez left, like I mentioned. He still plays here from the Van Gaal era he's inheriting. There's still Matt here from the David Moyes era. Still a couple of players here from the Ferguson era. he's still in the process of rebuilding with Solskjaer, so maybe he does need a couple more transfer windows. You know, like I mentioned, in the next 2 to 3 to 4 windows, definitely, you know, we need to improve our recruitment, because, like I mentioned, you know, our recruitment's been very, very poor now for several years, and obviously, you know, and the depth in the squad isn't good enough, and that stems from the board, and this is why I said the board, you know, are mainly to blame. The vast majority of the blame stems from them, because, you know, they've been a liability for several years. You know, they didn't back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer enough in the summer. They need to assure structural changes at the football club. So a lot of United fans as well are demanding the board out, this current board, and they want to recommend a new board in. So I do understand, you know, where they are coming from, to be quite honest with you. But I think, you know, due to our inconsistency anywhere for the vast majority of this season so far, everyone needs to take the blame anyway. A lot of the players need to take the blame. They hasn't performed to the standards as we should expect from them. You know, I think, you know, some of the blame also stems from Ed Woodward, and some of the blame obviously, you know, stems from Solskjaer. But Solskjaer is, you know, totally blameless in the last 2 games, but we've had 2 good results, so that's very, very good news indeed. But we'll just need to continue now, and all we need to do now is get our heads together, start scoring more goals, start creating more chances. You know, I think my perception is it's gonna take us, you know, maybe 3, maybe 4 years, you know, to try and get us back, you know, to how we was under Alex Ferguson. You know, we're not gonna, you know, ever replicate what we did under Ferguson in terms of what we achieved and that. But, you know, want to get glimpses of the Alex Ferguson days, you know, like we did in that 3-month period when Solskjaer was the interim manager. But Solskjaer will never invoke Ferguson's legacy to save him at Man United, and so too no other manager, you know, would do that as well, like I mentioned. But, you know, when we first recommended Ferguson, and, you know, he didn't win out in his first 4 years at Man United. You know, it took him it took him 4 years to win anything. You know, obviously we know back in the old generation that managers got the time that they would have liked. They don't get nowhere near as, you know, they don't get the time now, you know, that they would like anymore, because obviously now in this generation, the boards are a lot more ruthless. But, you know, back under Ferguson, you know, we had 20 odd years of success under him. He developed a lot of young players. He controlled the transfer policies. He controlled a lot of the contracts and that. You know, we haven't won the Premier League, you know, since 2013. Obviously, that came in Ferguson's last season, last time we won it. So it's nearly been 7 years now, you know, since we last won the league. And I mentioned at the start of this season that I didn't expect Man United this season, you know, to mount any kind of title challenge up or win the league, despite the 3 signs we brought in, because I know our squad's not good enough at the moment, you know, to mount any kind of title challenge up. But, you know, I just expect us to have a better season this season than what we enjoyed last season. But, you know, our expectations, obviously, this season is to finish in that top 4. And, obviously, you know, so we can get back into the Champions League. And, obviously, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is aware of the expectations. You know, he has to exceed at the football club and that. But I disregarded the top 4. Obviously, there's still time, obviously, you know, for us to, obviously, you know, try and get back into the top half of the table and obviously get back into the top 4. If we got top 4 this season, you know, I would be, you know, really, really delighted, you know, to be quite honest with you. But, you know, Solskjaer, you know, basically wants to bring that winning mentality and that fear factor back to the football club. And, you know, a lot of people have got doubts, but we know obviously none of that's been there, you know, since the Ferguson era. But reflecting on the size and the potential of this club anywhere, we should be much more commanding a position, you know, than winning now. Now, to be quite honest with you. Yeah. And, you know, like I've been updating you recently, you know, regarding some transfer news and that, you know, we have got quite a lot of players on our agenda. Obviously, Solskjaer, you know, you are aware, his transfer policy during the summer was to recruit young British players and that, and I think he's actually still keen on sticking to that policy in January. But I think it's actually, you know, looking very, very probable that we're going to sign Mario Mandzukic in January. As you all know, recent reports have indicated out, you know, saying that Man United are expected to sign him for around, £10 million. Obviously, you know, that's a cheap alternative. Obviously, you know, Mario Mandzukic is, obviously, you know, slashed his wage demands in half from 300 grand a week to 150 grand a week in order to come to Man United, because his current wage demands, were 300 grand a week, where Mario Mandzukic is. But yeah, it's looking like really likely we're going to get him. My only element of concern I've got about him is regarding his age, because he's 33. But prior to that, I think he would be a good player for United. He's delivered the goods at Juventus over the years he's been there. He's now into his 5th season at Juventus, but he's obviously lost his place in the team at Juventus. Because he served his 2 requirements, because obviously since the recommendation of Maurizio Sarri in the summer, Mario Mandzukic has not played a single minute under his belt. He's still under contract with Juventus until 2021. Is Mandzukic, taking into account Man United also inquired about getting him towards the back end of the summer transfer window. But yeah, he can show the likes of Daniel James, Martial, and Daniel James, Anthony Martial, and Rashford, how to be more effective in the box. So maybe he can assure us goals. I was reading reports the other week, and it did say we was preparing to hand Mario Mandzukic around an 18-month contract. But and I think Juventus have been discussing his potential exit. But yeah, I think he'll come to Man United in January, in that, which is obviously not very, very good. Solsjaker did confirm recently he wants to bring 2 attackers in January, 2 forwards. So once the transfer of Mario Mandzukic is completed, he wants to bring obviously someone else in. So there's obviously the talks of Moussa Dembele, who's an out-and-out number 9. And as it stands already, we've got quite a few attackers that can fulfill that number 9. Like I mentioned, Martial's more effective in that number 9 role. You've got Rashford that can play in the number 9, Greenwood that can play in the number 9. But we need someone else in. And Moussa Dembele, do you think he would be the right calibre player for Man United? Only age 23, I think he's feeling unhappy with Lyon at the moment. He's only in his 2nd season in France with Lyon. He's currently French himself. He's under contract with Lyon until 2023, and Man United would have to probably pay a substantial amount for Moussa Dembele. We'd probably have to pay around between 60 to 70 million pounds for him. Obviously, we've got the financial power to meet that valuation. But he's obviously, don't forget, when he was younger, he began his senior career with Fulham, so he's played in the Premier League. After Fulham, he had a couple of years with Celtic. Then, obviously, Lyon got him last summer for £20 million from Celtic. So he's also another player on our agenda. We know there's been talks of Callum Wilson from Bournemouth. There has been talks about him as well. Callum Wilson, I think, has made around 150 appearances for Bournemouth, and I think he's scored around, nearly 60 goals for them or something like that. He's made nearly 150 appearances for them, I think, in all competitions that is, and he has now been at Bournemouth a number of years. And he's also too British. I think he's around, is he 27, 28, something like that, Callum Wilson. Obviously, before he was at Bournemouth, he actually had 2 loan spells with Kettering and Tamworth. He began his career with Coventry, so he's another player on our agenda, is Callum Wilson. I think Bournemouth would be reluctant to sell him unless, Man United paid a substantial amount for him. We know there's been recent reports going on about James Maddison from Leicester. Man United are interested in signing him, and he did actually say we're expected to sign James Maddison within the next year. Don't forget, we're expected to sign James Maddison within the next year. This was stemming from early on this week. It was stemming from a reliable journalist called David Ornstein. He said he was notified by all parties that Man United are expected to get him within the next year. If we are to get him, I think it's more probable we'll get him next summer rather than January, but we could go in for James Maddison in January. Like I mentioned, he would have depth in our midfield. He'd be able to create more chances for us, because he can create chances, as he did prove last season, because he created more chances than any other player in the Premier League. Leicester did pay 20 million for him last summer from Norwich. He's got 4 years left on his current contract with Leicester. There's been recent reports saying that he could sign a new contract with Leicester, and he is only 22 years of age. But I think he would be fantastic in our midfield without a shadow of a doubt. Probably would have to pay around maybe 60, 70 million for James Maddison, maybe even more. Leicester are aware that they've lost some of their imperative players in recent years. Take that into account, and that and we did business with Leicester in the summer, because obviously we got the pursuit of Harry Maguire, and Leicester they didn't really want to lose Harry Maguire in that, but they did. But yeah, I'd like James Maddison in. So yeah, there's lots and lots of players on our current agenda, as you all know. But yeah, maybe Solsjaker now does deserve more time at the football club. And, before he came to Man United, obviously he did manage, Mould, for a couple of years. But he didn't, he did well at Mould, to be fair. He had a short tenure with Cardiff, but he didn't really do that well with Cardiff, did he? He ended up, getting Cardiff relegated, did Solskjaer. He only managed around 30 games for them. But yeah, so still a long way to go in the season. There's still, a lot of twists and turns to come. These actually games this season, what you can pinpoint out that, arguably, Manchester United should have won. I think we should have won at Southampton early on in the season. We should have won at home to Palace, reflecting on the amount of chances we had. You could say we was very unlucky not to beat Liverpool, even though it wasn't a great game of football. So look there, there's points that have cost us. Yeah. There's points there that have cost us. But, like I mentioned, I will update you more, about Norwich Man United, when, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has done his press conference, with, like I said earlier on the video, which I do presume will be, it could either be this evening, or it probably will be tomorrow, to be fair, his press conference building up to the game. Yeah, this is a game Man United, should win, to be quite honest with you. Norwich are really, really struggling. Yeah. And like I mentioned, I also credit Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as well, because he has got a lot of trust with in his young upcoming players, and that, the vast majority of them have been given their chances this season. Like I mentioned, Brandon Williams, from what I've seen of him so far, could become a success at the club. Mason Greenwood, I can definitely sure he will become a success at the club. Tuanzebe, I think he will become a success at the club. Like I mentioned, I've got some element of concerns about certain young upcoming players. Maybe we need to, orchestrate on loaning some of them out, which I think, we may consider doing in January, to be fair. But yeah, I think definitely some of the young upcoming players, will become a success. Man United, of course, have spent a lot of money over the years. Like I mentioned, we spent around £700-800 million in the last, 6 or 7 years on players in all the managerial eras since the Ferguson era. When only invested big on players, we've now got players on big contracts at the football club. And yeah, and in a way, I feel sorry for Solskjaer. I think, definitely the club have put him in a difficult position. And one mistake Man United did make, was obviously, giving him the job permanently. Giving him the job permanently. We should never even give him the job, to be quite honest with you. Obviously, you got Roy Keane recently coming out as well, suggesting that Man United should buy Harry Kane. Obviously, Solskjaer, reacted to his Roy Keane's suggestions of that. And Solskjaer obviously is a big admirer of the player. He knows he's one of the best, out there. But obviously, again, he's valued at around £200 million, and I doubt, that Tottenham would want to lose Harry Kane. Yeah. So let's see what happens. We need to get a win against Norwich on Sunday. We've got Chelsea in the Carabao Cup after, then we go away to Bournemouth in the league. So our next 3 in all competitions are away from home. Yeah. So anyway, guys, drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do, consider subscribe as always, and take care. God bless, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Thanks for watching.